Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. I really don't have anything for high tempo, dude. I mean, talking about working out, my foot's been nagging me. I'm getting to the point where I'm old. I pulled my hair back today.
Did you get free soup at the pantry? You look like you're homeless.
Well, it's because my hair is not quite long enough, so I actually have to do 2 ponytails, dude. One on top and one on the bottom. And so,
or you could just get a haircut and be a man.
My hair just like flies out. Have you ever read the most popular book of all time, the Bible? They tell you directly not to cut your hair, Matt. The word of the Lord, it's right in there. They even warn you. There's a whole story about it. Don't even let someone trick you into cutting your hair. You'll go blind, like they'll gouge your eyes out, and you have to like rip the whole temple down. And so, I'm at the point where this could be it. Like once you get to a certain age, Matt, once you're like in your 30s.
But I feel like you have to be strong enough to tear a temple down before you do that. You can't just have a dad bod and be pulling temples down.
Well, see, we don't know because like, you know how people always say like, oh yeah, a guy lost his hearing, now he overcompensates. He can see like a hawk out there. How do you know he didn't lose his eyes and his body compensated by giving him?
And suddenly he gained 200 pounds on his bench press.
Just massive muscles, bro. Like a form of natural steroids. Maybe that's how they discovered steroids. I don't know. I'm not there to fact check it. That's like, what's the Hercules story? Like every day he lifted a cow up, and the cow it weighed like thousands of pounds or whatever. So then he gradually increased the weight every day, then his strength got that strong every day. I'm pretty sure that's the Hercules Rimmer thing, right? So that's what you need to do. You have anything for high tempo?
I do. I had a rebound from last week. We started T-ball.
Oh, nice.
First practice, we went out. In my mind's eye, I had the perfect T-ball lesson plan, game plan. We were going to rotate stations. We were going to be hitting and fielding, and these kids were going to learn. And then it was just like Braveheart. They were just all over the place, storming the fields. It did not go to plan. It rained at the end. It was a disaster.
Did you yell and threaten them?
Negative. Because I don't think that even if I did yell, I don't think that they could pay attention. So went back to the toolbox and revisited some different drills, and we had practice tonight, and we had a much better result. I had to use some Mario references.
Did they even know? I guess because of the movie, right?
Because of the movie, I went to Mario, and it was like suddenly we were fielding grounders like Ozzie Smith, and
from Mario to an Ozzie Smith reference, it's definitely 80s, bro.
It was nice. They were diving for balls. We were firing fireballs across the field.
Yeah, that's crazy because, like I told you, man, I don't know if I'd have the patience for that. You have to be a certain age for me to be able to go all in like that.
But this is my toxic trait, is that I have to, I can't stop being competitive. And it's like last week, it didn't go to plan. I'm like, I have to do better. I have to be better. And like, what do I need to do to change the way this practice goes? And and it's so stupid, but it works so much better.
Yeah, see, that's where it's like, I like down here in the South, what they do is, some of the community centers, what they do is just like a learning thing where it's not really just like a season. It's like legit just doing drills and like getting the kids to listen. So like one day they'd be like explaining base running, and then that's all they would do the entire day. Then the next week they'd like review base running and then do like, I don't know, like throwing to first or something. So like I kind of like that instead of being like, hey, by the way, we're going to throw you out here and we know you're not going to pay attention. So we're going to let 5 other dads stand out here with you. And then they'll be like stopping the ball with their foot and like doing other weird things. Like it's like the kid's not paying attention. It's like, yo, let me block the ball so you don't get hit in the face when the kid tries to throw it to first. And that kid's picking a dandelion. But yeah, I definitely don't envy you, bro. You have my condolences going into the year.
But the funny thing with T-ball, I get more anxiety and stress over T-ball than I ever have coaching varsity and JV football.
That's because the kids know what they're doing.
Well, no, a lot of them don't. Unfortunately, I wish they did. I'd be a lot less gray.
Yeah, but they have enough to understand what to do, right?
I would say ish.
I feel like you get a lot of dumb questions from like the T-ball age. That's what would drive me nuts, I think.
But like with them asking dumb questions, they're 5, 6 years old. So like they don't have dumb questions. They genuinely have no idea. The dumb questions you get from 16, 17-year-old kids, it's, I want to try to purposefully make you angry.
See, it's like you can try out your material too, like your sarcasm, because they won't get it. And then that way you'll have like an audience to like test on and see if it works. Especially if there's like other parents around, you like slip it in there, give them like a head nod, like, yeah, I got it. How was that one? You got any parents hanging around watching you?
Yeah, we've had a couple. I mean, there's only 6 kids on our team, so.
Oh. Well, what you should do is just have every kid bat twice, and then the game will be over fast. 3 times, you're like, great work, guys. 18 at bats, we're good. Out of here in an hour. Not even.
Take your cuts. Picked a couple dandelions.
Because, like, I forget what I was doing. Like, my little brother, he played in the league, and it was like everyone hits 1 time an inning. Yeah, like 18 dudes on the team. It's like, buddy, let's speed this up. Like, baseball is meant to be played with like 3 hitters an inning if the pitcher's doing his job. Not this BS double-digit dudes going through. And there was always like the one team that for whatever reason, like the regular team, half the kids didn't show up every week. So like you're going with like 8 kids. And there's always the one team that has like, must be like 3 families put together and there's like 20 kids out there and they're always there. And it's like, man, we don't want to play that team. We'll be here all day. Watching them come up and hit off the tee. Or then the pitcher throws it 3 times first. And then they miss every time. So then they bring the tee out. So that wastes more time. They need like the pitch count, like, or the clock. Like they're doing an MLB. That's what they kind of need.
We do. It's 4 innings or 2 hours.
So, anything else you have?
No, next Monday is opening week, so we'll know where we stand.
You'll start off hot like the Buccos. Bob Nutting will extend you, and then you can just fall apart from there. Let's get into. I mean, I really don't have any NFL stuff, so let's get right into the NBA playoffs. I know you want to talk Sixers, but before.
Here, I'll just kick it off for you. I hate Al Horford. I'm tired of seeing him.
Why?
He does absolutely nothing all year, and then all of a sudden they play the Sixers, and then he turns into Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant combined. He does nothing all year, and then suddenly he just hits every shot. He blocks every shot. He's like defensive MVP. He does everything. It pisses me off.
I like Al Horford.
I bet you do.
Is it because he went to Florida? Didn't he play at Florida? Let's see. Yeah, he did play at Florida. He brought him in.
Give me another reason to dislike him.
He brought them back-to-back natties, I'm pretty sure. him and someone else. Was it Noah? I can't even remember back then. Such a long time again. I'm probably wrong. It was Horford and someone else. But yeah, I'm surprised the Celtics kind of got him back. I feel like, did he play with the Sixers for a while?
I thought he did.
He played for the Hawks, maybe. I mean, he floats around and it's like, he's like the vet that they bring in. And at the point, it's like almost like, how much longer can he play? Which it isn't even like 20 years, because like, that said he played in college till 2007, which I think was the second Florida Natty in back-to-backs, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's like, what, 15 years ago or so, like, ish? So he's getting close to there. In like 4 years or so, he'd be at 20 years in the league. So he has to retire. I don't know how old he is. But is he like LeBron's age? I'll look up the ages and then they have the thing. So LeBron's like, what? They changed it on me, remember?
Well, and now Horford, he did have that 1920 season with the Sixers. But it was like from 16 to 19, all he did was just beat Philly. And then it was like, oh, good, we brought him over, so he'll do something good for us. And then he played like a hot diarrhea. So like,
yeah, for whatever reason, I remember that the Celtics run, and they couldn't really get over the hump. But I thought he went back to the Hawks. I guess I'm wrong. He went to the Sixers and then to the Thunder. And then he made it back to Boston, which I knew he came back for the last couple of years, but having a guy, he's only 36, so he's actually younger than LeBron. LeBron's 38, which is crazy, because LeBron had been in the league for how long? Because he came in as like a rookie. So LeBron played for like 4 years before Horford even came into the league. Insane. And he's younger, but because he was like in college or whatever. But I don't know. I think the main thing for the Celtics Sixers, I feel like the winner is going to go on. And the Celtics have been so inconsistent. It's like they take a loss and they're like, wow, we really played like shit. Let's reevaluate. Then they kick the ass, but then they're going to be down. Like, I have a feeling the Sixers are going to win in 7 games. And then it's going to be like an upset for Boston. They're going to be like, oh, crying, because this is a perfect chance for the Celtics or the Sixers to finally win the championship, I think.
Yes.
You have a legit chance. This is like my dream scenario for like Michigan football. Because like, yeah, you get in the playoffs like last year.
There's no one on the other side.
Like last year, oh yeah, even if we beat TCU, you're playing Georgia. But like TCU had all like the COVID bullshit, like, hey, these guys are 29 years old playing. And it's like, all right, awesome, guys. Just like in basketball, and the other team's like, hey, yeah, UConn's going to win it all. It's like, yeah, but this other team has guys that are in their 40s. It's like, who's going to win? The old guys or the UConn team that everyone knows? Like, the bracket just opened up for UConn. Like, that's never happened for Michigan. It's always like, oh, hey, by the way, you're going to hit a hot Villanova in basketball tournament, even though you made the title game. Oh, Michigan, here you go. Play Georgia. Great. And they're going to have every guy drafted by the Eagles on their team. It's like, oh, cool. Now it's like the Celtics before, it's like, hey, you're going to make it. You're going to lose to Golden State. It's like, damn, okay. They have a good run going. Now it's like the Heat are up. They're most likely going to win. They're an 8 seed. So they could play, in theory, an 8 seed and then a 7 seed if the Lakers go all the way. Now, the Lakers have LeBron, so I'm a little bit hesitant to just write that off and be like, yep, you're playing an 8 and a 7, you should easily win. Because you never know with like LeBron and his teams, like how he loads them up. They have been playing like crap up until the series. But the Nuggets are tied with the Suns. That's a 1 and a 4. If the Suns win, you could be playing a 4 seed. So it's not like you don't even have a chance of like a 1 or a 2. You're a 1, a 4, a 6, or a 7. And I feel like that's never happened. I think we looked this up in the past where it's like no team under a 4 seed or whatever has ever even made the finals or something like that, or won it. So, like, to have the NBA Finals be a chance to even be an 8 versus 7 would just be crazy. I don't even want to say that it's going to happen again or like all time. I just don't know. It's not parody. So I'm not going to say that and be like, oh yeah, it's parody. This is a thing that's going to be like crazy, like going forward, you know, but the new expanded playoffs really opened things up. It's like, nah, it didn't. It really didn't. It's just a fluke year where your superstars are able to carry your team. Like if LeBron wins a championship as a 7 seed, it's not because the league is more balanced. It's just because LeBron brought his superstars together. They walked through the regular season and then boom, hit it up. Because I'm looking through the list now to kind of see if they had it by year. They don't have it by year. What the hell? I wish it gave me by seed. Because that would be even better. Because I just want to see, like, what's the lowest seed when NBA Finals? Because, like, in college basketball, you can kind of see. So the Rockets were a 6 seed. That's the lowest team ever with Hakeem. And wasn't that the year that Jordan didn't even play? So, like, the Knicks were an 8 seed. They did lose. They made it one time to the Spurs. Then the Rockets were a 6. They won. And after that, it's been all 4s. So I was thinking that a 4 seed one, that was the Celtics over the Lakers. That was all the way back in the 60s, though. So a 4 and a 6 have won one time. Other than that, it's all been the top seeds. So the fact that you could get a 7 versus 6 to me is insane. The same with, like, hockey's kind of the same way, but I don't know. That's why I feel like for 7 games in basketball too, a lot of these series that are listed on this list of like the most lopsided matchups all ended like 4-2, 4-1, 4-0. Do you really need to be playing 7 games at that point? Or have a 7-game series, I mean? Like, would there be a difference? If tonight's like game with the Celtics and Sixers was like the end game. Because they talk about like, oh, we should cut the regular season. It's like, yeah. But do you really need 7 games? Like, you're not going to get many upsets that way. If you want to make it more exciting, that would be my thing.
I think maybe that's the way they want it, where you eliminate it was a fluke game, it was a fluke shot, it was a one-time thing. Like, if you're consistently the better team, you win it over the 7 games.
That's where Philly's getting over the hump, dude. Winning it.
I watched the game on Sunday, and I almost flipped my TV watching it because they had such a big lead that the traditional like basketball fundamentalist in me was furious that the shot selection was awful. You're playing with the lead. It's like you're playing to be the world champions, and you're playing like a junior high team. Just run down and randomly just throw the ball up. It's like, what are you doing? And it took a last second shot to take it to overtime, and then like had they have blown, I mean, I don't know if it was 16 point. Was it? It was a massive, like almost a 20-point lead that they had. I was like, oh, I'm just going to watch the rest of this. They're going to cruise. And then it was like, nope, stupid foul. Tatum's hitting a 3. At one point, like he runs up and just like pushes the defender away and steps back and knocks a 3. It was like, so now we're just slap fighting at this point.
Well, that's why they talk about like Tatum and how he's awesome. It's like at some point you have to make that jump to be the guy that takes over games. And I just don't think he's there. Like, I have the game on now and Celtics are just like, throwing up threes, it's like, all right, we know you're down like 20 points or whatever, but you should never be at the point where you're down 20 points. You know? I don't know.
But that was almost like, this is the same scenario that I feel like the Sixers were in before, where tonight the Celtics are firing up threes, but Tatum, he did a great job of just going to the basket and was getting and one fouls. The Sixers were committing stupid fouls on him and just like hacking him as he's going to the rim. It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah. I think the fouls, I've been reading like how they're talking about changing like some of the charge fouls. And I don't know if it's just for college or if it's for both or the NBA only, but at this point it's almost like some of the ticky-tack stuff, it is almost like WWE. Because like, does a guy, like you're talking about like the guys pushing off and stuff, I feel like sometimes they let it go and sometimes they don't, and it makes it very easy for the refs to control the game. Right? So,
yeah.
I don't know. I can't say like either way, but that's where I'm like watching. And like you watch like the highlights, they're showing like this 80s clip, and they're like all in each other's face, much more physical. Like now that would never fly. Like watching Larry Bird and stuff. It's like, all right. Insanity. Anything else you want to talk about for basketball?
No, just hope the Sixers don't choke this game away. They got 5 minutes.
There's no way they're choking. If they start choking, we'll bring it back up. Same with the other playoffs, NHL right now. I feel like I'm watching the Canes play a bit, and I'm hoping that they can continue to win and just go through the entire way to be Cup champion, so we can have a parade down here. Because I think that would be awesome. Because like right now, it's lining up to be the same thing that we talked about for basketball. Like Florida's the second wild card, and they're up 3-0 on Toronto, and the Canes are up right now. I think they're up like 6-1. That is the final, so they should be up 3-1 in the series. And the Canes would go ahead, and they're the 1 seed in their bracket, so they'd play the wild card Florida to just make it to the Cup. And once you're in the Cup, like who knows who you're going to play on the other side? But the other side has Seattle leading, and they're a wild card. So you can get a scenario where the Canes will play 2 wild cards to win the Cup, and I feel like that's a great scenario to be in. Like people were like, "Yeah, wild cards can win it." It's like, yeah, they do win it sometimes, but if I'm going to be a fan that's watching and they're like, "Hey, well, if I'm going to give you 2 scenarios, you could play 2 1 seeds back to back for the Cup, or you could play 2 wild cards." Everyone's going to take the wild cards. Right? Yeah, the wild cards can get hot, but if they don't have that next like level talent to get the 1 seed to begin with, what's it matter? Always take the lesser path. Because once you win 1 or 2 cups, like that's it. Same with like the NBA Finals. Maybe it's the process for the Sixers has taken forever, but like maybe that could be the jump point for like 2, maybe 3 championships, right? LeBron's only getting older. But I'll say if the Sixers win, that's probably who I'll be cheering for. I don't want to see the Heat win again. If the Heat win as an 8 seed, I'll be upset. Actually, probably not that much. I really won't care, but that would just suck. Because like of all the franchises that could win it as an 8 seed, it's like, oh, the Heat, yeah, perfect. That's what we need. Any other professional sports stuff? I really don't have anything for the NFL to even circle around. So people probably tuned out right away. I do have one thing for football. So college football, getting into it. The University of Iowa, Big Ten school, they've been under investigation for gambling. And I'm watching it so much that this isn't the first school that it hit. Alabama held out with some baseball players, I think, and they stopped taking bets on their games because they thought there was some shady, like, point shaving stuff going on. Iowa wasn't really anything involved like that, but it was to the point where they had like 20 or 30 people listed that were gambling, probably using like DraftKings or something, right? And I feel like, on one hand, I get it. You don't want the kids gambling. It's part of the contract. I'm pretty sure it was the contract when I played that they came in and the NCAA explained, like, hey, you're not allowed to gamble on any sport. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was like something that if the NCAA sponsored it, then you couldn't gamble on it. If it was something weird that the NCAA didn't sponsor that you wanted to gamble on, that's probably what got Mike Vick, right? Dogfighting. Then you're good to go. So maybe he heard that at the NCAA meeting. But I'm just saying, like, it's tough being a kid when all your other friends that aren't athletes, right? Because you're not just going to go hang out with only athletes. Like, most likely you're going to meet other guys in your class or whatever and be friends with them. And if they're all gambling and winning money, like on NFL, DraftKings or whatever, why wouldn't you sign up? If it's legal in your state, and I'm not saying like, oh yeah, go ahead and like the kids should be able to do it, but I think that the NCAA should revisit it. If you're going to take the gambling money, much like the NFL, and they went after Ridley and stuff, but you're running ads for gambling everywhere. So if you're taking the money, and I guess they could go to the track and bet horses, right? That wouldn't be an NCAA sport, I don't think, unless equestrian. That's not what the Kentucky Derby is. So, like, I just think that, from my personal opinion, if they're going to allow gambling ads, then the athletes should be able to play. Like, if you're a basketball player, you should be able to do fantasy football, right? Why not? Like, what's getting you to the point where, hey, oh yeah, I can't play that? Or like, hey, if you're playing football, you can do fantasy baseball or like some type of daily fantasy basketball. I see not gambling on your own sport, but there's a clearance section. Like, there's a big clearance department anyway. So, like, I could see very easily, it's going to be much easier to get the athletes to say, like, hey, yeah, this is my account. I'll make it public or whatever. Like, it's not like, I think you can show, like, public bets. They just don't show how much they are. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while since I even dabbled because I don't care. And I don't even know if it's legal in North Carolina where I live right now. Could you imagine if the NCAA opened it up and it's like the state of Iowa is using that as a recruiting tool? Like, come here, man. You can make great bets. You can win big betting on basketball here in our state. And then their football team, like, scores so many points. But the original thing was everyone was talking about wondering if it cut out, like, their offense. Because, like, I had heard rumors that maybe there was point shaving going on based on some of the bonehead plays that were being called. And when this came out, I thought this would be the most insane story in modern times, where if the entire football team on offense was just like point shaving as part of a gambling thing. But they said that it had nothing to do with performance. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just know that as kids, it's going to be very hard to tell them, like, no, you can't do that. And go from there. Anything you want to talk about with that?
I think it's so hard. And especially I understand if it's directly related to your sport that you're playing. Like, if you're a college basketball player, it makes absolutely no sense to be betting on college basketball games. But I don't see where the issue is if it's a completely different sport and you don't have any influence in the outcome of the game. And I think the only leg that the NCAA really had to stand on with that in the past was that they were saying the amateur athlete status. But anymore with the NIL deals and everything else, I mean, athletes are able to make money. They don't necessarily have to rely on gambling accounts and stuff to tie up loose ends.
I would say this could be controversial, but I think players should be able to bet on themselves. Right?
I don't know. I'm going to be a cynic and say no in this. Because if you know that the game plan is being tailored towards you, like, you're going to have more opportunity. Why wouldn't you just double down on it?
Well, what about if they just said no prop bets? You can only bet on your team to win. Like either straight up or money line. I mean, that could be like a big thing where the whole team, you only can bet to win, and then your entire team's losing tons of money, so everyone's just quitting. Being homeless, you know? It's like, oh yeah, I can't do that anymore. But that's the one thing that I never understood. Like, yeah, you can invest in yourself in anything else, but it's like, if you're feeling really good and you're like, I'm the best player and my team's going to win, like I'm going to bet on us. Like, why not? Isn't that what Pete Rose was doing? They were like critiquing him, like, why'd you only bet certain games? Like, yeah, I knew we had a good chance. I'm betting to win, man. I'm not betting to lose. Like,
and that was, and to me that was why, like, he never bet against his team. He was betting on his team to win.
It's like when like a company, they give stocks to like their employees, like they're betting on themselves, you know, sort of like that. It's not like an insider trading where they're like selling their stock before they're about to go crazy, right? It's legal, like if you work for a company, to buy your own stock. How would that be any different? If you're like, damn, I know I was really good, we're most likely going to win. And heck, even, I mean, I guess if you're doing like do money line, do straight up, maybe that's why they don't do it. Because like if you're Bama and you're 40-point favorites and you're like, we got to coach, we got to score one more time. He's like, guys, we're winning by 60. He's like, we need 67, coach. Go for two. And he's like, damn it, I know it. Like, that could be the one thing where it's controversial. But could you imagine if, like, they're like, hey, you know, remember the old, like, wasn't it Woody who said, like, I couldn't go for 3. He's like, I had 60% of my team. They needed that money line, baby. We had to go for 2. I think, like, that would be the controversy of the year. Honestly, I have nothing else. I feel like it'll be a short show. I feel like every time I say there's a short show, we never have one, so I didn't even bring it up at the top of the show. I looked through my notes. There was some controversy with Bob Huggins. Kind of talked about it in the pre-show. So go to southboundsports.com if you want to hear about it. You sign up for the Patreon and hear the full show live every week. We do it on YouTube. There's a link there. The only other thing that I think I sent you some stuff, but it's like mostly just predictions. A lot of people are predicting Florida State to win the ACC this year. So I'm going to jinx them by bringing that up, Matt. A lot of predictions have them playing Michigan. And I know we laughed last week about JJ being a top draft pick. They had him in one of the mocks I saw, the early mocks, going like late in the first round already.
Oh, wow.
So maybe he's up there. I also saw another list where they had him behind Joe Milton. And I saw Joe Milton play at Michigan. And big, powerful arm, but not accurate. Although Richardson wasn't really accurate either. And he was like picked, what, 4th overall?
Yeah.
So, like, maybe they're going with, hey, we don't need accuracy anymore in the league. I don't know, though, because I feel like you need that. Now, Milton, he's playing at Tennessee. You're going to have the wide open looks. As long as he's not making the crazy insane like interceptions and stuff. Where I saw him get like gun shy at Michigan, where he wasn't like decisive. And hey, maybe a couple extra years will put him in that position. I think a Milton, Michigan playoff game would be insane. I don't think Tennessee has the horses to beat Georgia or Bama. Not a lot of people do, right? Although, if you can keep them from winning the SEC, maybe Michigan won't have to play them. Like, that would be a dream scenario. Like I said, for the NBA, get some teams that haven't been there that maybe aren't as talented in the playoffs before what? We expand? Is it 2 more years? It should be this year and next year, right? And then they expand the playoffs to 12. I don't think this is the last year. But maybe I'm wrong. Because I think it kind of lines up with UCLA and USC. Which, that's my final bell. So the latest rumor, it's going crazy with the Pac-12. So the Pac-12 doesn't have a TV deal. It's up next year, I'm pretty sure. So they have to announce it soonish. Right? Because like you have to get advertisers lined up. You can't make a TV deal like right before it's over. Unless you're just signing, like, unless there's already a contract in place like the ACC did, where they just extended it with ESPN for some reason, which probably killed their conference. But there's all kind of moving pieces here. The AAC, where UCF and Cincinnati moved from, they're not calling themselves the Power Six anymore. Did you see that? Because like last year, they were calling themselves the Power Six in response to like TVs calling them Power Five. But they made a statement where they're like, we're not doing that anymore. And so they don't want that dividing line between the extra conferences or whatever. I just don't think they have the horses to ever make the playoffs again right now. In a 12-team playoff, yeah, they'll most likely get in because it's going to take the top 6 conferences, but that could change from like the MAC 1 year to whatever the next couple years. But for the Pac-12 to get a TV deal, they're talking about leaning back to ESPN. I think that would be a nail in the coffin for them. Because I saw a proposal for like a hypothetical where based on ESPN picks for each time slot, where it's going to be SEC, then the ACC, Big 12, or like the Pac-12, someone did a list of like games for this year as like a hypothetical, and there were only a handful of weeks where I think they would have picked the Pac-12 game as like the national game. Just because the other conferences, like the SEC, they're going to have more hype. There's no way you pick like an Oregon State, Washington State game over even like an Auburn, South Carolina. I just don't think you can do that. So that's the one thing that I saw when they came out. And the next big thing is the streaming package. Apple supposedly wants 100% streaming, which I think would kill the conference. Because if recruits just can't randomly tune in and see Oregon uniforms, Oregon's hype is going to go through the floor. It's going to be so low that they're not on TV. You have to pay for Apple Plus. And yeah, people get it free with their phones, but not everyone has an iPhone. And if that's the only way to get it, yikes. But that's my last tidbit. You still here, Matt?
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts on the Pac-12, like compared to the ACC? I know that would be the one thing. Because, yeah, I'm having a crazy storm right now, so my internet's kind of being wonky. I keep having you go in and out. But I don't know if you caught all that. But any thoughts on the Pac-12? Do you think they survive?
I want to say no, but I think that they definitely could. I mean, crazier things have happened.
People keep talking about how Cal is just going to quit sports. And so when they leave, Like Stanford might do the same thing. And it's like, I don't think they're going to give up the money. Right? Stanford has to use that prestige to get applicants. Like, you can control other factors of like being a university, but there's a clear correlation between major universities winning a national championship in a major sport like football or basketball and then seeing their applications increase.
Just go through the roof.
Yeah. So like some of the schools, like before Alabama, before Nick Saban, everyone would make fun of Alabama's education like they were a West Virginia. But now with like all the increased applications, it's like people are like, yeah, their academic profile, it's really getting raised. Like, look at these reports. It's like, yeah, because they have to turn down like how many % of people now because of the extra applications. Where if you just kind of give up on sports, you're kind of like the University of Chicago, where do people know the University of Chicago? They used to be in the Big Ten. They have more Big Ten champs than Indiana. Like, do they know them? Or do they know, like, Purdue? Because I have a feeling if you walked around and was like, hey, pick the one you know, and, like, had both logos, I think most people would pick Purdue over Chicago, especially down here in the South. I mean, Purdue's in the Big Ten championship last year. And I bring them up because they don't have a state name. Like, people might know Chicago, the city. But if you showed them like the UC logo, you're going to be like, I don't know what the hell that is. Cincinnati? Like, is that Chicago? I don't know. But like, if someone's like, hey, do you know the University of Indiana? It's like, yeah, I can make a pretty good guess, buddy. I can make a pretty damn good guess that it's not in Montana. Like, oh, perfect. So, that's my thing. That's the end of my show. I really don't have anything else this week. NIL stuff. Still trying to figure out if that's going to be a big thing. Michigan's recruiting still doing really well for football. I hope it sticks. I don't know how a conference like the Pac-12, when we talk about them surviving, can they survive without a big NIL package? I feel like if TV pays most of your NIL, you're not going to survive. You have anything for the final bell?
No.
Yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. So if you want us to hit on anything, we know it's the offseason, probably the slow period as the playoffs pick up. Sixers won that game, which I said there's no way they lost it. They were up by like 20 points. So we'll probably be hitting on that next week. If there's anything else you want us to hit on, let us know. And thanks for listening. We will see you next week.